knowledge, accumulation of spiritual knowledge. That has to happen without the without the knowledge of a prophesized event getting in the way or interfering with your natural course of evolution. Say you're just going through your life and you're moving towards something, you're living your life in a certain way, and suddenly a prophecy comes along that you find very disturbing, you think it's going to have some effect on you, and you change your life, based on this prophecy. Maybe you react differently, or you just change the course of events in your life. You have then interfered with your normal evolution, which would run its course and provided certain kinds of learning. So, in this respect, then a prophecy is not good for a person to know, especially if he doesn't accurately understand the ending or what's going to happen. Prophecies usually only demonstrate one possibility, and at the same time they just demonstrate one type of warning. So we have to regard prophecies then as something that, one, can be changed because of free will, and regard them as kind of a warning then. Prophecies should never be clearly revealed, he says, because the person then will make changes in an evolution. The evolution then is thrown off because the person does something that he normally wouldn't. Also, there's certain events in a prophecy which usually should be kept secret, because here he's insinuating that one of the problems with the prophecy is that people overreact. And I see that even today, where people are becoming more and more sensitive about predictions that psychics make and so forth about the great earthquake in California or the entire West Coast sinking into the water. These things can cause great fear and disruption in people's lives. I know several people right now who have really disrupted their entire lives, moving their families, losing their jobs, selling their homes and so forth, out of fear because of predictions that they read in the paper or in newsletters that are being circulated around the country. And this, for people who are slightly unstable and are easily drawn to fear or negative things, this is very disruptive to them. They just can't help themselves. And so it really is not serving, the proper interest that the predictor probably had in mind. You have to be very careful when you predict things and come about your predictions, like saying that they are real, that they're really going to happen, because it can be very disruptive to people's lives, and like I say, causing people an awful lot of fear, and we certainly don't want that. Certain information within prophecies must also be kind of vague, he says, so only people with a certain level of understanding would be capable of decoding them. I guess that would be similar to like Nostradamus, and he has all these quatrains with, dates and time schedules and so forth, and nobody ever seems to get straight. I noticed that there was a book out just about a year or so ago, some people claiming that they had finally unlocked the Nostradamus code, and they felt they had nailed it down, and now you could count on this book. Well, I've had that book on the shelf, and so far all the events they said that would happen in '92, none of them have happened. So again, they've goofed. They were not able to properly decode them. Because of that, they wasted a lot of people's time, money. A lot of people bought the book and probably changed things in their life based on that, or filled their head with a bunch of nonsense that didn't really happen. So these people were behaving rather irresponsibly by claiming to have done so much and really have done nothing at all. This leads us to kind of one final statement on this, and then we'll move into some of the prophecies and predictions. But be very careful of those who prophesize. Also, a little caution to you out there who may be wanting to do some predicting or prophesizing. Even though you think you may have learned some ways of calculating it, you may be gaining in some visions and so forth that seem to come true now and then. Be very careful in these difficult times coming up in the near future about making predictions or prophecies of any kind. Because for the most part, if you only know a little bit about prophecy or prediction, you're going to be wrong. And it's this type of information where a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. If you don't really know what you're doing, Billy says in the times coming, which are very dangerous, which world events are going to be very dramatic, if you are certain predictors and so-called seers and prophetic psychic people are going to be saying things that are going to be happen, and they're not going to happen. They're going to cause a lot of fear and trouble with people, and a lot of psychics and predictors are going to wind up being killed or murdered or whatever by people who are just driven insane by being misled in their lives by these psychic predictions. We know we're going to have Obviously some difficult times coming up with natural disasters and everything. So here's a little tip during difficult times. Don't be predicting things and causing people to change their lives and becoming responsible for other people's lives unless you're really sure about what you know what you're doing. If you start predicting things and change people's lives and it doesn't really happen, then there's liable to be some recourse into your life. In the introduction in Billy's book, he's taking a little time to remind people here on Earth of the times that we are living in. And as I mentioned to you before, we're in this so-called New Age period we're moving into, where geographically we're moving into this close proximity to the central sun. This time period is it is a time of change when the stepped-up radiations from the central sun then start affecting everything on the planet, including the planet itself. So it's a time where things speed up. It's a time of turmoil because as things speed up, it goes a little too fast for society and for certain people, so we have a lot of problems. The predictions of past from biblical times, which are still coming true, we have to be very careful about. They're happening. And he cautions us that as a race, as a planet, we're really doing nothing about the major problems on our planet. He says since 1974, the total atomic destruction of the Earth has been averted by some very powerful beings, extraterrestrials. That, of course, was some of the work of Ascot and his younger contacts. That danger is past. That was existing then. But the danger of a third world war has not been removed at all. It's still going to happen pretty much just exactly the way that it's predicted and has been predicted for a couple of thousand years because the people are, are doing nothing to change it. Billy says, look to the beginning of the Third World War to come during a time when we think things are very peaceful. Suddenly, without any warning at all, in the middle of the night, the cry of war is going to break out in the middle of the night, and it's going to be a great surprise to everybody here. So we want to look, perhaps right now there's hardly any peace anywhere on the planet. There's wars everywhere you look. Okay, let's move into some of the more definite prophecies, and let me start a little bit with some of the prophecies from the Talmud of Manuel, which is the original teachings and thoughts of Manuel, who was wrongly called Jesus Christ. One of the important things in there that we all have heard is the prediction that he said that he would return. Some people believe he's returning in 2,000 years. Well, that isn't exactly what was in there. He just says that it will come to pass in 2,000 years when mankind has become capable of better thought, that his teachings will be revealed again unfalsified. And that's exactly what happened in 1963 when his original writings were dug up. Actually, the writings were written by Judas Iscariot. They were dug up. They've been translated, and they are now out in a little book called the Talmud of Manuel. He mentions also in those writings that there will be a new prophet in our time, or what he calls the distant future then, that will not possess as much power over evil or disease as he does, but the new prophet of our time will have the knowledge, which is the same as his, will have the knowledge and understanding of creation, and will be able to, as he put it, shake the foundations of earth with the revelations of the truth that's brought forth. He goes on also to mention, which is kind of interesting here, that the time when his his teachings will be revealed, he says, will be a time when a war is threatened from space, and many new gods will seek dominion over the earth. Again, as we mentioned earlier, that Emmanuel is aware that gods are humans, and they are humans, great wisdom kings on the highest realms of physical evolution, who exert great force and knowledge over other people. So here he's talking about that there will be a time, and apparently it's very much time about right now, where there will be a war threatened from